Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing a Strixhaven Turbo Draft in the Decathlon series of events. For those who don't know, Turbo Draft is the format where everything costs 5 generic mana less to cast. So colored symbols like that on Defiant Strike do not get reduced at all, so this card still costs a single white mana, but a card like Introduction to Prophecy costs 0, Burying Books costs a single blue, Master Symmetrist costs double green, and Verdant Mastery costs a single green, so on and so forth. So cards like Introduction to Prophecy are pretty high picks in this format because it's a 0 mana lesson to scry 2 and draw a card. So if you have any Learn in your deck, that means you're going to have a ton of copies of just 0 mana scry 2 draw a card, which is really nice. And even if you just main deck this thing, it's pretty insane in Turbo Draft. That being said, our rare is also super ridiculous here. Verdant Mastery, we are going to be casting this for the full effect for only a single green mana. So we get to search our library for 4 basic land cards, put 2 of them into play tapped, and 2 into our hand. For a single green mana, that's pretty insane, and it's probably worth taking even over the free Scry 2 draw card, but it's actually somewhat close, because free spells are pretty insane. Scry 2 draw 1 is really nice. And then if neither of these were in the pack, I do think Burying Books is quite good. A single mana to permanently remove any creature tokens is really nice because some of the biggest threats in the Turbo Draft format are creature tokens. There are a lot of elemental masterpieces getting cast that create 2 4/4s. There's a lot of Serpentine Curves getting cast that make like a 10/10 or an 11/11. So Burying Book's really nice against creature tokens and even other threats. It prevents them for a good amount of time. So Burying Books is really nice there. But we're going to take Verdant Mastery here. Even if it isn't the best card, it's in contention for the best card, and it's certainly the coolest one. So we'll see where we go from there. And it gives us an absolutely beautiful deck box for the deck, which is really cool. So what do we have here? What is this Japanese card? It is Brainstorm. Not super great here. It's already a blue mana, so not getting much of a cost reduction there. So here, I feel like the biggest choice is pretty easily Serpentine Curve. In the Turbo Draft format, we're casting a lot of spells for really cheap. The vast majority of our deck will cost 1 mana total, and we'll be running a ton of instants and sorceries, especially with the amount of lessons that we can cast for 0 mana. So Serpentine Curve can very quickly become a 1 mana 4/4 or 5/5, and if you draw this even just a few turns into the game, it can often be a 1 mana 10/10 or 11/11. So Serpentine Curve is a pretty bonkers card in the Turbo Draft format. If that weren't here, Heated Debate's pretty nice. 1 mana, 4 damage to something, can't be countered. Or like Wormhole Serpent would be like the biggest creature for us, just a 1 mana 3/5, or the Flyer Spectre Defense, a 1 mana 2/3 flyer, something like that. So Serpentine Curve will be my pick there. And we can follow it up with another Serpentine Curve. We do get a bigger cost reduction on Leyline Invocation, however, this creates a fractal with power and toughness equal to the number of lands you have. Not likely to have a ton of lands in the Turbo Draft format. In your decks, you generally want to run less lands than you would in a regular deck, something like 13 lands, because you have so many just 1 mana spells, and there will be 0 mana ways to get more mana as well. Letter of Acceptance is the #1 pick in this entire format. It's a 3 mana artifact that taps for a mana of any color, and then later in the game you can sacrifice it to draw a card. So that essentially is like an extra land. Like you play your land for turn plus Letter of Acceptance, and you just immediately have 2 mana turn 1 when most of your deck only costs 1 mana anyway. So you don't usually run enough lands for Leyline Invocation to do much. Serpentine Curve tends to be the much bigger fractal token for this format. So Serpentine Curve is going to be the pick for me. I suppose there is a Cultivate which goes down the same path as our Verdant Mastery here, which could be interesting. Could really help us play a ton of colors if we want to, splash in a ton of stuff. The more ways we have to grab any color of mana, the more we can afford to splash in a ton of different colors. So that would be kind of interesting, kind of cool if we want to really go down that path, but I think Serpentine Curve is just the most consistently just straight up powerful card for the format. If that weren't in here, it might be Crushing Disappointment, honestly. Just 1 mana draw 2 is also very good. So I do like Crushing Disappointment. And then outside of that, Pigment Storm has been a solid removal spell. 2 mana, 5 damage. Pretty fine rate for the format. So now what do we have here? A little less clear to me. I think Practical Research is quite good. A blue and a red to draw 4, discard a card, discard 2 cards or discard 1 instant or sorcery, or 2 other really good options. We have Cogwork Archivist, which is a 1 mana 4/5 reach that can start dumping cards from your grave back on top of your library. Mainly a 1 mana 4/5 reach. That's kind of ridiculous about this card, and it's any color of mana. Makes it very, very easy to cast. Or Environmental Sciences, which is one of those 0 mana lessons. This one grabbing whatever basic land you need and gaining you a couple life. So I think Practical Research, Environmental Sciences, and Cogwork Archivist are all quite good. Practical Research, the highest impact but the hardest to cast by far. It costs 2 mana, and each mana is a different color. You need a blue and a red specifically, but it is very high impact. Quite a lot of card draw for pretty cheap. That being said, Archivist, really, really easy to cast and pretty high impact too. A 4/5 for just 1 mana. I think I'm going to go with the Archivist here. I could really see an argument for Practical Research. Environmental Sciences is generally good because it is completely free and it turns any learn spells that you pick up into a way to mana fix yourself. But in the Turbo Draft format here, I feel like Practical Research and Cogwork Archivist are just so powerful that Environmental Sciences isn't really in the same level as them here. So I think I'm taking Archivist. I guess, you know, with double Serpentine Curve, we could really make better use of a Practical Research than an Archivist, though, if I think of it that way. And we already have some good mana fixing with Verdant Mastery to help cast things like Practical Research that cost blue-red, even if we are like 3 colors here. I've actually sold myself in the opposite direction. We're going to go ahead and take Practical Research here. Again, much harder to cast, but so high impact, drawing 4 cards. Really, really nice card. So now we have Expanded Anatomy, another 0 mana lesson. This one putting a couple counters on something and giving it Vigilance. A 3rd Serpentine Curve. We can really go down that path, which seems great to me. Or it's kind of about it. Go Blink is fine, because you could turn 1 it for just 1 mana, and exiling your opponent's graveyard does matter a little bit. There are some good ways to bring instants and sorceries back from the grave, like the Cogwork Archivist, Biblioplex Assistance, Pillar Draw Warden, stuff like that. Crushing Disappointment, solid 1 mana draw too, but I think I'm just going to go Serpentine Curve and really have a dedicated strategy that we're trying to go for. Just cast a bunch of cheap instants and sorceries, really. And we are looking to be like green-blue here, because Verdant Mastery is a pretty strong card in our deck here, so I could see Aether Helix potentially. Return a permanent to its owner's hand and a permanent from our graveyard to our hand. We do need to pick up some permanents, though, and make sure that we have a deck that isn't just instants and sorceries if we want this to do a lot. But bare minimum, this will quite often destroy a creature token. As you can see, our deck has 3 creatures so far, all of which are creature tokens. So if we're playing against a deck like ours, this will pretty much always have a target to kill. Yeah, we'll take it here. It is possible that we end up cutting it because we just don't have a ton of permanents in our deck, but I don't see us missing out on a lot in this pack. Most of the cards here are already pretty cheap. They're not getting much of a cost reduction, and they're not particularly high impact. Honestly, the best card that we're passing here is probably just Charge Through for us, because just 1 mana, draw 1, just to put another instant of sorcery in our deck is probably better than anything else in this pack, just because we are a triple Serpentine Curve deck, so really missing out on very little here. Charge Through is not it's not much of a miss there. So now Biograph is a 1 mana 5/4, correct? Everything costs 5 generic less to cast. You're paying that additional cost to cast it. So you do get the cost reduction on the additional cost to cast it, I think. So a 1 mana 5/4 is pretty big. And that gives us a permanent for our Aether Helix. Seems pretty good. It's really close between that and Curate. Curate is certainly going to play better with the Serpentine Curves, for sure. Can really just dump some instant sorceries in our graveyard and draw us a card for cheap. So really nice with the Serpentine Curve strat. But Biograph goes with the Ether Helix strat. This is the big problem with taking the Ether Helix there that I was discussing. It is pretty counterintuitive to the Serpentine Curve sort of strategy. Yeah, the main reason we took Aether Helix is because there was so little downside. There was like pretty much nothing else to take anyway. So I feel like I should probably just disregard Helix here, because the rest of this deck looks like a really good Serpentine Curve strategy. So we probably take the card that lends itself to that strategy better, rather than trying really hard to make our Aether Helix work. So I'm going to take the Curate here. All right. And, you know, if we naturally just pick up cards like Cogwork Archivist, then we will start getting the permanents for Aether Helix, which is great. That being said, it's not an incredibly clear pick to me again. Archivist is really good at 1 mana 4/5, but we also have 2 mana draw 2, put a land into play, which is not bad at all. Certainly much lower impact than Practical Research that we already have, but real solid. Mascot Interception has actually played pretty well in this format as well. I've had some opponents just absolutely demolish my tokens. So, yeah, steal a giant fractal and then kill somebody with it. That is pretty ridiculous, but I'm going to take Cogwork Archivist here. Just 1 mana 4/5. No matter what color mana we've drawn into, we can cast it. Super, super big. And we did wheel Introduction to Prophecy. That is going to be huge for us. We don't have any ways to learn yet, so right now it's just main phase, or main deck, just 0 mana scry 2 draw a card. Super good cantrip. Basically, we draw this, and then instead of drawing our 1 card for turn, we draw the best card out of our top 3 for turn. Because this is one of the 3, and then we look at the next 2. So, Introduction to Prophecy, absolutely ridiculous. We're very happy to play it here. And not super happy to play anything in this pack. I don't love the campuses in this format. Honestly, if I drafted one, I would probably end up cutting it. Because, again, with everything costing 1 or 2 mana, like if you look at our deck here, looks like a nice variety of mana costs, but if you actually put everything into the curve when you reduce all the costs by 5, we have 4 or 5, we have 6 1 mana cards and 2 2 mana cards. That's our curve. 6 1-drops, 2 2-drops. So lands that come into play tapped are especially painful in this format. That is actually a really big drawback. So you need to be getting a lot of benefit off of them for them to be worth it. So honestly, with triple Serpentine Curve, I would probably rather just take a Biomathematician, because I just don't think I'm going to want to come to play tapped lands, even if they do help with the mana base. I'll just take, you know, a 2 mana 2/2 plus a 1/1 that maybe puts some counters on my Serpentine Curves. It's between that and just like a 2 mana 2/2 flyer. These are the only on-color cards I'm even considering. Square Up is just not impactful in this format, a little combat trick. So yeah, I mean, is Biomathematician bad enough that we take a Prismari Campus and consider running it? I feel like the odds of me running a campus, even if I draft it, are just so low. I'm going to get some outside suggestions from this. That's why I hear some clicks here. I'm going to go look up something. All right. Sorry, I just popped open Twitter because I saw some people that I follow posting their 7-win turbo draft decks. I wanted to see if any of them were running any campuses. The answer is no. So I feel like it's pretty easy to pick up the campuses late in the draft in this format. So I feel like pretty much everybody had access to play campuses if they wanted to. And it seems that the general consensus is that you probably shouldn't, because again, what I was talking about where the curve is so low. So I just had to get a second opinion on that one. So that's why I took Biomathematician, because I do think the card is just not great for this format. Pretty low impact for 2 mana. 2 mana, you want your stuff to be really good. So yeah, I mean, here I guess we can take Leyline Invocation, because I'm not really going to play 4 colors and play this Crushing Disappointment. So I do think the card is good. Yeah, I'm just not going to play 4 color here. Grab a Leyline Invocation. And this is not the worst Leyline Invocation deck, because we are... You know, we're playing green. We have Verdant Mastery already. We might start picking up some Cultivate style cards. I'm going to take Cogwork Archivist over the Waterfall Aerialist. Just easier to play and bigger impact. Really nice to see that, though. Now we'll take a charge through. And Charge Through is actually maybe even higher impact than I gave it credit for, because, yeah, we just cycle it and draw a card in the early game to fuel our Serpentine curves, but late game, being able to give an 11-11 or 12-12 Serpent Trample can certainly find a win. I don't think that I'm going to play either of these. But Teach by Example is particularly hard to cast, being double blue, but it could also be really big if we like double up a Practical Research or a Serpentine Curve or something. I don't know, it's cooler. We'll take Teach by Example, I suppose. Reconstruct History. Shall we play 4-color and play Reconstruct History here? Pick up an enchantment, instant sorcery, and Planeswalker from our graveyard. And an artifact. We'll keep this in mind because it can pick up an Archivist, a Verdant Mastery, a Practical Research. We're already at 3 out of the 5 card types to pick up. If we pick up some enchantments or a Planeswalker or something, it could be fun to try to do the Reconstruct History thing. Okay, so what do we have now for this green, blue, red deck? Abundant Harvest does not seem particularly good. I guess it can really just dump a bunch of stuff into the grave for the Serpentine Curves. If we go all in on that combo, just bam. I'm going to choose land and then hope to mill a bunch of instants. That's kind of cool, but not really good. Creative Outburst is still a ton of mana even in this format. It is still double blue, double red. Kind of a hard sell, especially for 3-color. So I don't think I'm taking Creative Outburst either. Fractal Summoning is really easy to cast for us because it looks like green and blue are our main colors, with red as sort of the splash here. Just for the Practical Research being the only card that needs red mana, and Teach by Example can just use blue if we have it. So Fractal Summoning really easy for us to cast, and it's, at worst, it's a 2-mana 5/5, and then it still scales up throughout the game like it normally does. So 2-mana 5/5, 3-mana 6/6, 4-mana 7/7, so on and so forth. I like the Fractal Summoning here. Professor of Zoomancy seems like a pretty great 1-drop, 1 mana for a 4/3 and a 1/1 pest. So that would be really awesome. Curate fits with our deck really well with triple Serpentine Curve. I think I'm going to go Fractal Summoning for now and try to wheel like this Curate here is our hope. Ooh, Blue Sun Zenith. Triple blue is going to be difficult, but triple blue draw 5, bare minimum. I'll take it, and with a card like that, a card as powerful as that is hard to cast because it is triple blue. I will probably start valuing mana fixing pretty highly now. Cards like Cultivate or Environmental Sciences. And now I really don't want to dip too far into red. I really want our red to be the kind of thing that we can just run a single mountain for our Practical Research and just only pull out that mountain with Environmental Sciences or Verdant Mastery when we need it. That way we can just have as many blue sources as possible to cast Blue Sun Zenith as consistently as possible. And it's not even impossible that a Blue Sun Zenith will just end the game and mill an opponent out at some point. These games, they don't go particularly long, but pretty much every deck has really cheap ways to just keep drawing cards, like Introduction to Prophecy, Curate, stuff like that. So players will just fly through their decks in this format. So Blue Sun Zenith, not going to take too much mana in the late game to just mill somebody out as well. All right, so this pack is very, there's not a lot going on. Gritting Ignis is infinite mana, isn't it? No, it's not, because it doesn't add red. It adds red, colorless, colorless. So this is, if we spend 1 red mana, we play this out, and then we spend another red mana to bring it back to hand and get a red and 2 colorless. So it's technically not infinite mana, but we do go up in mana. For 2 red, we get a red and 2 colorless. We will run out of red mana eventually, because spending 2 red and only getting 1 red back, we do go up in mana. So that is still really cool for trying to storm out and stuff, but we're not really trying to do that. So I think we just take Pop Quiz. I mean, we have a good lesson now, and we definitely want to have some ways to pick up Environmental Sciences, because we want to definitely draft that kind of highly now that we have Blue Sun Zenith. So I think Pop Quiz 1 mana, draw a card, learn a lesson, grab that fractal summoning. Seems pretty good to me. It's also a great way to fuel your Serpentine Curves, because this is going to put an instant into your grave immediately, and then you'll obviously be casting whatever lesson you grab pretty much immediately as well. Most of the lessons, all of the colorless lessons we can cast for 0 mana, so yeah, Pop Quiz seems pretty great to me. Definitely better than Serpent or Guide here as the other main choices. Or like Grenade Ignis just for lulz. So now Arcane Subtraction for another way to grab lessons, or Elemental Summoning for another solid lesson. I think those are the two major picks to me. Yeah, we do have Introduction to Prophecy, which makes us want lessons, learn spells pretty highly. That being said, we only have 1 copy of it, and then it's just Fractal Summoning. Yeah, our lessons aren't great. We don't have a lot of the good 0 mana ones. So I could really see the argument for either one of these, but it's definitely one of the two, between Subtraction and Summoning here. I think I'm just going to go Subtraction and really hope for the 0 mana lessons. And here we go. Here's one of them. Introduction to Annihilation. 0 mana. Exile an online permanent. Its controller draws a card. So just get rid of your opponent's biggest threat. They do get to draw a card to replace it, but it's 0 mana, so it's worth it. Sadly, Tendrils of Agony is a really fun card to draft around in this format, because again, with everything so cheap, with so much card draw in the format, you can really storm off with the Tendrils of Agony and kill an opponent out of nowhere. It's really fun to try to do that, but we're already drafting around a difficult build around Blue Sun Zenith and muddying the waters, trying to put in enough swamps to cast a double black card is going to make it so we just can't run Blue Sun Zenith. So we have to choose between Blue Sun Zenith and Tendrils of Agony, and we're already down the Blue Sun Zenith path, so I'm not gonna swap over into a Tendrils of Agony Storm deck out of nowhere. But I do think this card is legitimately good in the Turbo Draft format. You can very easily storm off for at least 6 life to your opponent, and often more if you play around the Tendrils, especially. What you really want if you pick up Tendrils of Agony, you really want to be in blue. I think you pretty much always want to be in blue in this Turbo Draft format. But you want to pick up copies of Solve the Equation. Solve the Equation is a blue and 2 to search your library for an instant or sorcery, reveal it, put into your hand. So in Turbo Draft, it's a single blue mana to do that. So it's just a single blue mana, pick up your Tendrils of Agony. So you just do that late game. Once you have 5 or 6 mana, you can just cast something like Arcane Subtraction, and then cast a 0 mana lesson, and then cast another Arcane Subtraction, cast a 0 mana lesson. That's 4 spells already, and then you just cast Solve the Equation, and then cast Tendrils of Agony. That's 6 spells total. So you're doing like 12 damage if you do that. So Tendrils, not the hardest thing in the universe to go off in this format, and really fun to try to do. So here I'm just going to take another Curate. Again, it just works real well with the Serpentine Curve strategy we have going on. 3 Serpentine Curve is more than enough to kind of just bank on that as our main win con. Enthusiastic Study's fine, but as I said before, I really don't want to play a lot of red, and I don't think I'll splash for Study here. I want to splash for like literally just practical research because of the very restrictive cost on Blue Sun Zenith. Campus Guide would be okay. Like, it's a 0 mana 2/1 no matter what. We don't have to search for the basic land. Often we won't want it, but if we have a Blue Sun Zenith in hand, the option to just slap an island on top I think is more powerful than like giving something -1/-0 and like flashing in a creature. So I'm going to take Campus Guide here. Plus Campus Guide 0 mana instead of 1 mana. Like, we're choosing between 2 2/1s here. It's not a particularly great pick for us. I think we have enough permanents. We have 4 creatures. Maybe we don't have enough permanents for Aether Helix, but the only other major option here is Ardent Dust Speaker or Pillar Drop Warden. 2 solid red cards. They're good in the format, but keeping that red as low as possible. So I'm going to take Aether Helix here. Another Curate really easily there. That is the other thing to think about. Even though we don't have a ton of permanents, we do have multiple ways to mill ourselves. Triple Curate here if we ever hit a permanent off of Curate. Then we can bring it back with Ether Helix. I don't believe I'm going to play this big play, but we'll have the option, I guess. 4th Curate, get on in here. Sure, Spring Main Servant. I do think the Tome Shredder is actually, it is good in this format, because you are going to have boatloads of instants in your grave at pretty much all times. Ooh. This Bookworm cost is reduced by 5, so it's still 3 mana, but 3 mana, 7/7, gain 3 life, draw a card. Seems good, even for this format. That being said, Quandrix Pledge Mage, that's going to go off really fast. And we're really like, we've got the stuff for Pledge Mage. But Bookworm's only 1 more mana. Bookworm's only 1 more mana, and it keeps going back into your deck if it dies. Like, by the time that you can cast it, you have 3 mana, so then if it dies, you'll have the 3 mana to just keep putting it back. Bookworm and Pledge Mage. These are the 2 biggest options here, and they're both excellent. And they're still good options. If these weren't in the pack, there's still like a Cram Session, and a Pest Summoning would be okay, but Cram Session would be solid. Excellent pack here. Taking a look at this deck, I really feel like Quandrix Pledge Mage is super likely to go off really quickly. Like, it's just going to be a really, really impactful card. But, I don't know, the Bookworm takes literally 0 effort. Just have 3 mana, and then cast a Bookworm, and then bam, you have a game ender, you have a win condition right there. Pledge Mage, like, we do have to put in some work for it, but like, our deck is already designed around casting a bunch of cheap instants and sorceries to make our Serpentine Curves as good as possible, so that just kind of also makes our Quandrix Pledge Mages as good as possible. Just kind of in the meantime, you know? It's possible a Quandrix Pledge Mage wheels, based on how the bots draft. It's not possible a Bookworm wheels, at least it's less likely, I think. I would assume, based on how the bots draft usually. Although, I don't know, because Bookworm, like, you have to be a rampy sort of deck. Pledge Mage really fits well into either campus, either college, Prismari, or Quandrix. Or Witherbloom, even. Yeah, I feel like Pledge Mage is more flexible, so in a general, like, human draft, it would get taken quicker than Bookworm would. But Bookworm's so good, too. I'm going to take Pledge Mage here. I feel like I want these both equally. It's really, what do you think the bots are going to take first? I have no idea, but I feel like Pledge Mage fits into more decks of the regular format. The bots are very much not drafting for the Turbo Draft format. If they were, we wouldn't be seeing, you know, Introduction to Annihilations and stuff late. Especially Letter of Acceptances. I feel like we've gotten hosed on the Letter of Acceptances here. It's the strongest card in the format, and it's not a particularly high pick in a regular Strixhaven draft format, so I have seen many people come out of these decks, or come out of these drafts with like 5 copies of Letter of Acceptance. We have seen 0 in the draft so far. That is the biggest downfall of our deck. That is going to be a big bummer. So I like Divide by 0 here. Doesn't like bounce, oh wait, no, we'll take Pledge Mage. No, we'll take another Pledge Mage. I was going to say, I like Divide by 0 here, but the downside of not being able to bounce a token is actually really big in this format, again, with the 4/4s and the fractals being such a big aspect, but it's still a solid way to learn for cheap. That being said, there's also Quandrix Pledge Mage, and we just kind of went over how good Quandrix Pledge Mage would be for us. Introduction to Annihilation would be fine. We already have 1, though. I don't think we need too many like duplicates. I just like having access to 1 to learn for when we need it. All right, there we go. Speak of the devil and he shall appear. Letter of Acceptance, best card in the entire format. A Mox that taps for a mana of any color, just a 0 mana artifact, a mana of any color, and you can turn it into card draw late in the game. When you don't need the mana anymore, just 2 mana, sacrifice it, draw a card, so replace it. Letter of Acceptance, so good in this format. We don't even need to look at the other cards, but there were other awesome choices. Introduction to Prophecy being probably my favorite outside of the letter. So now we have Needlethorn Drake, trade off with a 4/4, Biograph, a 1-mana 5/4, Expanded Anatomy, a free lesson, but not a particularly impactful one. It doesn't put us up a card, doesn't draw a card or anything like that. I think I just want the 1-mana 5/4 here. Probably give us a little more stuff for our double Ether Helix to bring back. And I could take a look at our creatures here and see if we have anything that seems to work really well with Expanded Anatomy, but I don't think we do. Yeah, most of our stuff is just big ground creatures that are already more than big enough. We don't need to put more counters on a Serpentine Curve. We don't need to put more counters on a Quandrix Pledge Mage. Yeah, we'll just take an Expanded Anatomy here. Just have that option when we cast our learn spells. So we don't really have removal. So we could just take a Mage Duel here. Mage Duel is probably better for us than Biograph. 1 mana, give something +1/+2, and then fight something. With our Serpentine Curves and our Pledge Mages, we'll often have something big enough to fight well, at least with the small buff from this. It's really just between this and Biograph. I guess there is Zephyr Boots. We do have to pay the full equip cost, so it's basically the same card it was in Strixhaven. But giving a Fractal or Pledge Mage flying actually does seem pretty great. Not going to be a ton of flyers in the format. And it's a free spell, but it's not an instant or sorcery, so that doesn't really matter that we're putting out for free. There's nothing's going to trigger when we cast a free artifact or anything. Yeah, the draw discard is fun too. I don't like not having interaction, but I do really like being able to make things flying. Yeah, these both seem great. We do already have double charge through when we're trying to close out the game. Just give trample out of nowhere type stuff. We do have Ether Helix for interaction though, so I guess technically we do have some interaction. So we have some arguments against both. We have a little bit of interaction, we have a little bit of ways to try to close out the game with our big creatures. And honestly, we're just trying to close out the game by having big enough creatures that our opponent just has to chump block every turn until they run out of stuff. Shouldn't be too hard to do that with how big our green-blue stuff can get here. Yeah, I'll just take a Mage Duel, make sure we have interaction. We can win the game without giving things flying. Without too much effort, I think. So let's just make sure we have more interaction against crazy stuff. Oh, I would so love a 4th Serpentine Curve, but that's a letter of acceptance. That is unpassable. Letter of acceptance number 2, get in here. Feels really nice to get that in here. So Test of Talents is not unplayable in this format. A good Prismari deck in this format is really devastating because they could have 3 or 4 copies of Elemental Masterpiece, which is just 2 mana to make 2 4/4s in this format. So being able to counter even 1 copy of that is going to be good, and being able to potentially counter it and make sure they never draw any more is also good. So I think Test of Talents is pretty big in the format. Pretty much all of the most impactful plays, but the majority of the most impactful plays are instants and sorceries. Because there's so many big Prismari and Quandrix. I've already forgot all the college names. It hasn't been that long since Strixhaven came out. But most of the big Prismari and Quandrix cards are just really big sorceries and instants. So yeah, being able to counter that stuff is really good. Eureka Moment would be solid here, or Expanded Anatomy would be solid, but I do think I like having Test of Talents in the deck for some good safety against just wild spells like that. So now we have Zephyr Boots or Eureka Moment. We don't really have any draw 2. We have a lot of draw 1. Pop Quiz is sort of a draw 2. We have nothing that puts us up a card really. do love going up a card. If we have Practical Research, that's it. And Blue Sun Zenith. Blue Sun Zenith is a pretty big one, I would say. Letter of Acceptance has really helped that Blue Sun Zenith, which is nice. I'm just going to take Eureka moment here. I think I've solidly convinced myself that I have enough ways to win without giving stuff flying, that I don't need the Zephyr Boots. And the fact that it doesn't really do anything by itself. It's the kind of card that just powers up your cards that you already have out. It doesn't like add anything to your hand or anything like that, or to your board state. It's just take one card that's already good and make it better, you know? It's just an enhancer rather than its own impact. So I kind of don't like it for that. Definitely love a Cram Session here. Really cheap way to cast multiple instants and sorceries in a deck that's trying to cast as many as possible. Spined Karok, a 1-mana 2/4, probably not that important. We'll just take a negate here for the same reason we have a Test of Talents, and we'll probably play it. I think Test of Talents is better, but not by a ton, so negate's probably still pretty good. Take another Biomathematician here. We got a lot of fractals. Could do the thing. Biograph here, 1-mana 5/4. And some stuff we're not going to play. Could play another Campus Guide, potentially. Again, because of that Blue Sun Zenith. Most of the time we're just playing this as a 0-mana 2/1, but sometimes we'll want to grab an island. Scurrid Colony. All of the Quandrix stuff that cares about having 8 or more lands just doesn't matter. That's... If that ever happens, you've already drawn basically your whole deck anyway. It is still a 1-mana 2/2 reach, though. That's not terrible. Card evaluations in Turbo Draft formats are so wild. Where you're like, a 1-mana 2/2 reach. I mean, I don't really know if I want that. That doesn't seem that crazy. If you ever heard somebody saying that and didn't know that they were playing Turbo Draft, you'd be like, what? That's nuts. That's half off. So much cheaper than it normally would be. Alright, so first of all, I'm only going to want 1 mountain. This is 15 lands still, and we have double Letter of Acceptance. We can cut down to 13 pretty easily. I probably want as many blue sources as possible for Blue Sun Zenith, so we'll have the mana base look like this for now. 7, 8, 13, 14, 15 mana sources in a deck with a bunch of 0s, 1s, and 2s is more than enough. So we'll do that for now, and we might even cut more. Do we have enough Learn to cut all of our lessons? We're definitely cutting Expand Anatomy. We don't want that main deck even if we don't have any ways to learn, so we'll take that out. But I think we have enough Learn to cut all of them. We have Cram Session, Arcane Subtraction, Pop Quiz, 3 ways to learn, 3 ways to learn, 3 lessons. I mean, that just means we get to cast Introduction to Prophecy 3 times as often as if we just main decked it. Yep. And then the others are just for options once we've already used our Introduction to Prophecy. Cool. So we can definitely cut all of those. Now let's get things sorted by the actual costs for the format. As I put a bunch of 1-drops in my 2-drop slot. Okay. What looks weak here? Campus Guide doesn't look great, but it is free. Not a huge cost in running it. Charge Through. I like the Charge Through because like we just cycle them early game if we don't need them. I guess we have to wait till there's a creature on board, so they're not that early. But we've got a good amount of creatures. We have 10 creatures and a bunch of like Serpentine Curve style cards. I think we want Charge Through in this deck. We definitely want all of the Learn that we have. We want all the Curates, Negate, Test of Talents. Biograph is like a maybe. We want all the Learn, so keep Cram Session, Pop Quiz. Don't have a lot of interaction, so we want Mage Duel. We can cut Servant maybe. Leyline Invocation. Definitely not good for this format. I think this was a pretty late pick for us over pretty much nothing else in the pack. We'll probably cut that. No way we cut Archivists or Verdant Mastery or Serpentine Curves. Aether Helix is looking a little sketch. Teach by Example. It's another card similar to the equipment that I didn't pick up, where I was like, the reason I didn't pick it up is because like all it does is just make something that's already good better. It doesn't really do anything on its own, and the Teach by Example is pretty similar. I think I'm just going to cut Teach by Example. Having to hold up mana and wait until you have an additional 2 mana to do whatever big play you want to do is it's even harder when everything's so cheap that you're dumping out massive plays really early in the game. So I don't know if we'll have the time to do that kind of thing. So Biomathematician doesn't seem great, even if we're doing like the fractal thing with a bunch of Serpentine Curves. It just seems slow. But pretty much everything else here seems great. We have to cut 7 cards, 4, 5, 6, 7, bam. We can cut those 7. We could cut some lands here, especially because we have double Campus Guide. These are kind of like 2 more lands in the deck, because like, even if we have no lands in hand, we can just go bam, Campus Guide, land to hand. Not to land. Not to hand. Land to the top of our library and then to hand. Okay, I got there. My brain got a little funky, but we got back in there. We figured out what my brain was trying to do. Actually, I kind of think I want to keep Aether Helix maybe. Although we just cut a ton of creatures, so Aether Helix is getting sketch. We have 6 permanents. It does pick up Letter of Acceptances too late game to redraw a card. We could just hedge our bets here and cut 1 land, 1 Aether Helix. Seems alright to me. So we have 18 blue, 10 green, 1 red. We have 4 red sources in the deck because we have 1 mountain, 2 Letter of Acceptance, and 1 Verdant Mastery. That feels like enough for practical research. Really would have loved to get Environmental Sciences. That would make me feel really good about the splash if I just had 1 copy of Environmental Sciences to grab off of our learn spells. Fortunately, we don't have that, but that would be like the actual ideal. I feel like the splash is still okay. Maybe we even cut Practical Research here instead and just don't even splash it. But it's so huge. Draw 4. I'm open to swapping it around later on. It is a big nombo with Blue Sun Zenith. These cards do not work well together in a blue-green deck because of the mana requirements. I think I'm just going to hope our Campus Guides get us there, and we're going to cut 1 land here, 1 Helix. But I'm not going to cut both Helixes. And I think, just because I love this Blue Sun Zenith, I'm going to cut another green source here. And we have 6 natural green sources. 2 Campus Guide to pick up a forest. Hopefully that's good enough. I really want to hit triple blue super often. Yeah, I think that's going to be the deck here. So all in on Blue Sun Zenith. We'll see how it goes for us. And let me just find my phone and mute it real fast because I'm getting lots of notifications. All right. So here we are. Game 1. And here's where not having Environmental Sciences in our deck is really going to get us. Because we can't just pop Quiz or Arcane Subtraction for the green source. I'm still going to keep it because we're still going to draw a card off of Pop Quiz plus Introduction to Prophecy to scry 2 and draw another card to help dig for it. Or we can just naturally hit the green source and just immediately Verdant Mastery and live the dream. So we definitely want double blue. And then I guess we grab one more green mana and a third blue. All right. Yeah. We'll do the Verdant Mastery thing, you know. Seems good to me. So we're all set up for the Blue Sun Zenith if we draw into it. Not for just 5 cards, for 6 cards too, because we've got an additional mana, so this is going to be insane. All right, so now we just start drawing a boatload of cards and trying to draw into a Serpentine Curve. That's our plan here. So let's go ahead and draw a card, then scry 2, draw 1. I feel like that's what I want to do first. Ooh, Eureka Moment, draw a bunch there. Yeah, we're just going off. We are doing the deck plan, which is just draw a bunch with a bunch of instants and sorceries until we draw a Serpentine Curve. There it is. So that's going to be huge. We want to play the blue source for Curate. And we want to cast all of our instants and sorceries before we cast our curve. Any number to grave. Helix into grave, draw the Letter of Acceptance. Cast the letter so we can curate again. Practical Research and Quandrix Pledge Mage are both ridiculous. I don't think I want either in grave. We can't cast either this turn, though. So I guess just submit 0. Doesn't matter the order, because we'll draw both by the end of this turn. And then we just play a land and a Campus Guide. I forgot to hold the blue up for the Serpentine Curve, so that's a little rough, but we're fine to not play it yet. They only have a 1/5 out. We're not going to die. I guess I could charge through and draw the research immediately if I really want to, but I'd rather hold it for Pledge Mage. All right, cool. We have a chump blocker. We're going to play some massive creatures next turn. We play Pledge Mage, then cast a bunch more instants and sorceries, and then dump out a Serpentine Curve. Should be enough to close out this game. But as you can see, we're already halfway through our library, so that's what I was talking about, where Blue Sun Zenith, not only a big finisher, but potentially... not only a big draw spell, but potentially even just a mill finisher, you know? All right, see what we get with Practical Research. Another Serpentine Curve and the Blue Sun Zenith. Let's discard Mage Duel? No, let's discard Arcane Subtraction. I don't really want to play around with that. And then we'll just go Crash Through. No, I kind of like holding the Trample. We just go Serpentine Curve, I guess? Sure. We can play an Archivist as well. Yeah, these are big enough. We don't need to put more instants and sorceries in grave. They're already plenty high impact, I would say. And then we pass the turn with a super big board state. And there's the concession from our opponent. Unfortunately, they were stuck on just double red all game with a bunch of spells that they could not cast. So I'm assuming they're probably a Prismari deck there. Blue-red would be the most likely, because those are where the biggest massive impact instants and sorceries are that get a huge cost reduction off of the Turbo Draft emblem. So we are heading into round 2 now. Let's see what we've got. Opponent is going first, but we have that Verdant Mastery again and the Letter of Acceptance to cast it. Got a free Campus Guide, Pop Quiz to start drawing the cards, and Serpentine Curve to cast once we have a bunch of instants and sorceries in grave. This seems like everything our deck wants. So our opponent starts with a 1-mana 4/3 Fuming Effigy and a 0-mana 2/1 Campus Guide here. Very nice, and they put the blue source on top with the Campus Guide, so they will have the mana for an Elemental Masterpiece if they have the Elemental Masterpiece. Alright, so we're going to put... they go into play tapped, we'll put green-red out. And then start playing blue sources for a potential Blue Sun Zenith, then obviously for all the spells we're casting right now. Pop Quiz right now, or Curve. I do want to wait on the curves, so we'll just pop Quiz. And Prophecy. Pledge Mage, Archivist, both are good. I would like to draw them both. Like to draw... we don't have any mana up, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just play Campus Guide, and we will not search our library. All right. So we have a 2/1 to block their 2/1. We're going to take 4 here, and they're probably playing 2 4/4s for the turn. But maybe an Arcane Subtraction here. Nope, the 2/1s will trade off. And then Elemental Masterpiece. All right, there it is. So now we're going to play Pledge Mage before we play anything else, but then we just go double Serpentine Curve, and we're going to have... We're going to have a 5/5, a 6/6, and a 4/4 out, I think. Or is it a 4/4/5? Okay, it's a 4/4/5/5 and a 6/6. Okay, so this... I didn't know if the little symbol there, if that was counting the +1 that it gets, or if that was just what X is. Because X is like 1 plus the number of instants and sorceries engraved, so I didn't know if that was just indicating instants and sorceries engraved, or indicating exactly how big it was going to be. Either way, like, we don't have other options, we're just dumping it all out here. We'll crack our Letter of Acceptance next turn. We've got all the mana that we need. We've got our 1 red, we've got our triple blue. All right, Introduction to Annihilation hits our 5/5. We still have a 4/5, so they don't attack in super well, and they are down to 3 cards in hand. So I'm feeling okay. We don't have, like, the guaranteed winning position, but we have a slightly better position. All right, and now our opponent has a slightly better position. We are down to 13 from that, which is painful. And Pillar Drop Warden to bring it back to cast it again. I am glad we have a Test of Talents, that's for sure. So I have to take 8 or trade off my Pledge Mage, neither of which are things I want to do here. This has an ability that is going to hit us for at least 1 more damage here, whereas these don't have an ability. And anything we're going to trade into Fuming Effigy is going to be a 4/4 anyway, so I think the extra 1 toughness that the 4/4s have doesn't really matter. It's kind of irrelevant based on the creatures in our deck. The creatures in our deck are all, you know, XXs. They're not going to be like, we're not going to play any 3/3s in here. We just have a bunch of big stuff coming up. So if we take 8, we go to 5, and then I just counter Explosive Welcome, but then if they draw another, we die. I feel like I can't afford to lose Pledge Mage. Really hoping for something like Cram Session there. Pop our letter. Ooh, Ether Helix. And we can still have the blue mana up for Test of Talents. Pick up an Archivist, and then it looks real suspicious that we're holding up a blue, but it's not like they can play around the counterspell. Turn target permanent to its owner's hand, that one. And then return Archivist. We could return Letter of Acceptance, but it's just like 1 card draw. I think I'd rather get a 4/5. But I can't afford to just cast this, because if I just cast this, then they pick up Explosive Welcome and I die to it. I guess, actually, Explosive Welcome costs more mana than I'm giving it credit for. It costs 8 mana, which means in this format it costs 3, so they don't have the mana to bring it back and immediately cast it. So I could have just played Archivist, and that would have looked much less suspicious. Alright, so we start hitting for 5 a turn. Letter of Acceptance from our opponent. can crack it to draw a card, or they can just go for the welcome here. All right, we counter that. I guess we didn't need to. They went for 5 damage on Archivist, 3 to us, potentially. See what's in their library. They do have another Welcome to Exile. We're absolutely going to exile that. They have 2 Elemental Masterpiece, Mascot Exhibition, Archivist, Double Serpentine Curve, Reconstruct History. Oh my god, they went for the Quadruple Dragon's Approach deck. They have just 1 mana, deal 3 to opponent in here, 5 copies of it. That's terrifying. When we're at 5 life. All right. I'm scared. We need to try to kill our opponent quickly. We are hitting for 6 a turn, but that is a threatening stack of cards when you're at 5 life. Ooh, Crash Through is great. I'm going to do it pre-combat so I can cast more sorceries before I attack. If I draw any... I do draw Mage Duel. Oops. Could be lethal on the spot. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wait, 9 plus 4, 13. We only need 2 more damage. Okay, it's not lethal on the spot. But we only need 2 more damage now. They have 1 draw step, but they get to draw 2 cards thanks to Letter of Acceptance. I was gonna say, if they crack Letter for double blue, and they drew Dragon's Approach for turn and then Dragon's Approach in hand, that would be devastating. But it looks like that is not the case. That is 2-0 now for the Blue Sun Zenith deck. We haven't gotten to cast our Blue Sun Zenith yet. That's the goal here. We want to cast it at least once. You always got to have an alternate goal to your deck rather than just winning. Magic is a game of big, fun, weird plays. It's nice to try to go for them. All right, well, there's Blue Sun Zenith in hand, but this is sketchy. Cram Session into Scry 2, draw 1 to hit the land. If it's any land, we're playing a Pledge Mage. I guess not if it's a red source. We really want the blue source, but we have more blue sources than anything else in here. Probably shouldn't keep this, but I did just mention how my goal is really to cast the Blue Sun Zenith, and there's one in hand here. Gonna be a while till we hit that mana, even if we hit a blue source immediately. We do, and a Curate. I think I want to keep the Curate, because then I just play a Pledge Mage and I start doing Curate and doing wild stuff. Hopefully. Our lines are probably just Pledge Mage next turn, Pledge Mage the turn later, and then we go Curate Curve the turn after both are out. Even Arcane Subtraction is going to be 2 spells, because it's going to be this and then the 0 mana lesson. Well, Igneous Inspiration sucks for us. There goes our Pledge Mage. And they get their free thing and a free assistant to put Inspiration back on top. This is a really good hand from our opponent, and I'm not sure how well we're going to come back from this one, because they are hitting hard in the sky. They're hitting for 5 damage in the sky each turn, and if we just slam down a Pledge Mage, they just kill it with Inspiration again. And then make a 5/5, because they just play land for a turn. They go kill that, and then 2 mana for Fractal Summoning to make a 5/5. We can't just slam down Pledge Mage here. Just double Curate, I guess. Oh, we can't double Curate. We have a green source, not double blue. Wow. Yeah, we can cast one thing here. We can cast Pledge Mage, or Subtraction, or Curate, or Curve, but Curve is just a 3/3. I think we need to just Curate. Things are looking real rough. This was a real good start from our opponent to kind of counteract what we were trying to do. Mage Duel's fine. We kind of just died of Fractal Summoning still. Doesn't seem good enough. I feel like I just hit the land. Because we are going to need that land to do more things. Do we just play Curve here? Play Pledge Mage and have it die. I'm just going to hold on to Subtraction. I tried to pass turn, but didn't happen. So we'll get the full rope by accident. All right, so now we just subtraction and then set up whatever lesson we want here. Probably Introduction to Annihilation, so we can kill one of these things. They do draw a card off of this, but now we can kill their 5/5 fractal token if they play it, so they don't play it. Smart play. All right, so now Inspiration is a sorcery, which means we get to go Pledge Mage, Ether Helix. Pledge Mage is then a 3/3, then we Serpentine Curve. Oh, no, we can't Pledge Mage Ether Helix. We don't have enough mana. What am I on about? We can Pledge Mage Introduction to Annihilation is what I mean. And the introduction hits assistant. And then we can Serpentine Curve and Pledge Mage is a 4/4, which is out of reach of Inspiration. We have 2 big ground blockers out of reach. And we're at 21. I mean, we're not out of this. We're not out of this. We definitely play Pledge Mage first, so that we know it's going to be big enough to survive an Igneous Inspiration. Play a nice chunky Serpentine Curve now. And now we have our own threats on board to hit them with. Never mind, Whirlwind Denial. Does it not? What? Oh, Whirlwind Denial counters the ability too? That's disgusting. Oh, not only did they have the negate style spell to counter the curve, I'm like, all right, well, whatever, it still gets the counter. Not when it's Whirlwind Denial. Whirlwind Denial not only counters our spell, it counters our Pledge Mage's ability. Yikes. This was a really, really good hand against our deck. That is the exact interaction you want against us. We have a pretty good turn here, though. We have a 4/5 reach out now, and we bounce their 5/5 fractal to kill it. Fortunately, they still have removal, though. Defend the campus there. Teachings of the Archaics to draw 2. Well, Pledge Mage Curate it is. But then it's just a 3/3 anyway, and a 3/3 is not big enough to block Archivist. I feel like we just Curate first at that rate. Alright, yeah, we're taking that Serpentine Curve. We're just going to play that because that's big enough to block Archivist. And big enough to attack in somewhat hard. Oh my god, our opponent's deck is loaded. More removal it is. We do have the negate now, but it's too late. They have the winning board state, and they've already cast everything we need to counter. I guess they're getting something back, though, with Assistant here. This is a spicy deck from opponent. Igneous Inspiration is the pick, so I guess they can damage us in the face to kill us real quick here. Letter of Acceptance, we can. Blue Sun Zenith, we can cast a Blue Sun Zenith. So I guess we reached that goal, but it's not enough. They have lethal in the sky, and we have no way to stop that. We need Curate to hit something good. What could it even hit? We're already out of the Mage Duel. I guess it could hit another Ether Helix. That wouldn't even save us. It would just prevent our death for a turn. And it wouldn't even do that, because we'll only have 4 mana up. We have 2 for Pledge Mage, and then 2 for the Ether Helix. We wouldn't hold Negate up anywhere, which means Inspiration would just kill us. I guess we just Curate and see what happens. But I don't think we have an out here. They have a counterspell in hand here too. If they're waiting this long here, I assume they have a counterspell in hand too. You don't counter the card draw, they just counter whatever it hits. Unless it's like draw 2 or draw 4, then you could counter it, but this is just like draw 1. Well, I mean, Serpentine Curve so we can block on the ground, but we still die in the sky. I guess we could just send a message. Play our Letter of Acceptance first, because it seems like they have a counter spell. So we get to negate whatever they do to counter our curve. Alright, well, they don't counter the curve, but yeah, we die to the flyers. So that'll be it. Sad one here. Just a really good lineup of answers from our opponent for everything we tried to do here. We did make it to the point where our Serpentine Curves were spitting out 10-10s and 12-12s, but we were already on the back foot from a good start from our opponent, and they just kept having the removal for the big curves anyway. All right, we are on the play here. We've got multiple 1-mana 4/5s. Sure. Not going to cast a Curate or anything yet, because even if we don't draw any other cards, we can just slam down 4/5s for the first 2 turns. And this way, if we hit a land for Pledge Mage before we run out of Archivists to play, we can have our Pledge Mages on the board before we cast our instants and sorceries. Alright, well, I guess we're going to cast an Archivist again this turn. Now we have 3 turns to play our Cogwork Archivists. Oh, did they not grab a lesson there? They might be main decking all their lessons, because they are 0-mana spells. That is an option for sure. At least the colorless lessons are. So blue-red from our opponent. Prismari it is. Prismari Pledge Mage is the first play, just a 3/3 defender. So we are happy to just attack into that with our 4/5 and then play another one. So they have 5 cards in hand, 2 mana up, and a Prismari Campus in play tapped. Expanded Anatomy on the Pledge Mage, alright. It's going to make it big enough to attack into Archivist, and Mascot Interception to hit for 11 here. Alright. We're down to 9. If they have just more Mascot Interceptions, I guess we just die. There's a Letter of Acceptance. There's our second mana. Get a Pledge Mage out here. We can't attack into their Pledge Mage anymore anyway, so I guess we kind of just by default get to play pretty defensively here, which is nice, because I am a little scared if they went for the, they just go for Mascot Interception attacks there. How do they have Vigilance? Oh yeah, Expanded Anatomy gives Vigilance, that makes sense. Nasari, Dean of Expression. This card is terrifying. It's the kind of card you want to kill the second it hits the board, but our deck doesn't really have removal. So basically they draw a card out of our deck every turn, and every time they cast a card from our deck, they get to get a +1/+1 counter on that. So that card, pretty big finisher. But now that we're hitting mana with Verdant Mastery here, I think we can still just take over this game, because we're about to do some absurd things. So I am casting Verdant Mastery here first before I'm casting my Pledge Mage, because unfortunately I kind of have to do that in order to cast both this turn. So we are missing out on a counter on our Pledge Mage here. But I don't really have a choice. So they hit an island with Nasari, so far so good for us there. This Verdant Mastery has been bonkers for us in this format. The 1 mana double Cultivate. So there's an Elemental Masterpiece from our opponent. They have a lot of 4/4s out now. Another Elemental Masterpiece from our opponent. Okay, now they really have a lot of 4/4s, but Ooh, Aether Helix as a draw from us is great. We don't have any permanents to bring back, but we can kill one of their elementals for sure. I guess we have to have a permanent to cast this, so we have to crack our letter of acceptance. So I guess that's not happening yet, but in the future, that'll be pretty good. For now, we're going to make sure our board state is bigger and better than theirs by casting a ton of spells and a bunch of Serpentine Curves. I like having Test of Talents, honestly. It makes me feel comfortable and safe. But I feel like I'm supposed to just focus on casting as much as I can right now, so I should just grab Curate. I'm just going to grab Curate. Mage Duel. I like it. Do have an island engraved for Aether Helix now, which is good. Mage Duel, we can kill Nasari here. Exactly what I was wanting to do. Alright, Stomach, you need to calm down. I know I haven't eaten yet. Now we just double Serpentine Curve, right? I guess we could charge through instead, but then I'm only casting one curve. I think we're just double curving. Six blockers against 5 attackers. No attacks. If we attack and we're also trading an 8/8 for a 5/5, because they block our 8/8 with a 5/5 and a 4/4, and we can only kill one of the two. So I'm gonna wait till we have Aether Helix up, and then we can just pick up whatever Pledge Mage they kill and recast it, and kill a 4/4 in the process to really make sure that we can put the board in an advantageous position for us after an attack. So they could like Mascot Interception us again, but that'd be like fine. The Aether Helix, they can recast the bond. That is less fine. That's much less fine, because we don't have another Mage Duel. Or not Nabon, sorry. Yeah, that's not great. And as scary as Nasari is, I don't think I can afford to Aether Helix Nasari to just temporarily deal with it when I could permanently deal with a 4/4. Oh, they're just going to scoop them. All right. Well, I'll take it. I was still worried about what they could do here, but I do think we were in the winning position because of cards like Pledge Mage. So the plan here was to just go like Pledge Mage, Aether Helix, then attack in with Pledge Mage, see if they make a bad block for Charge Through to do even more. Actually, I should have save Aether Helix for post-combat. Literally just go like, just attack and then see what happens. And maybe they double block with 2 4/4s and we charge through to win. But they probably block with a 5/5 and a 4/4. We charge through, trade off with those two. Then we Aether Helix, get rid of another one and get our Pledge Mage back and double out some Pledge Mages here. And then we still have enough blocks to block anything they're doing. We draw a card with Letter of Acceptance. Archivists can start making sure that we have good cards at the bottom of our deck. Just keep throwing Serpentine Curves there. Basically, we could win the long game in this matchup if they don't have a lot of like Explosive Welcome type cards. That's the biggest thing that I was worried about here. If they have like a lot of Explosive Welcomes, they could just cast 2 of them and kill us. But other than that, if they're just trying to cast stuff off of our deck with Nasari, we can just wait till Nasari's trigger goes off, and then once Nasari's trigger's done, just double Archivist to put good cards back and cast those. The Archivists make sure we never mill out, even if the game goes super long. And then maybe Blue Sun Zenith as the route to victory, make our opponent draw more cards than they have in library. Eventually. Would be pretty cool. I don't think we can mulligan this. Like, it's pretty sweet, but A little worried about Pledge Mage just dying to removal. If Pledge Mage doesn't immediately die, this hand's excellent. But if it does, then we need to hope that whatever we're drawing off of the Pop Quiz and Curate is good. The great thing about Pop Quiz, though, is it's draw one and then scry 2, draw another card. So it's like scry 2, draw 2, which is really, really good. So we should be able to have some gas after our Pledge Mage, even if it gets killed here. All right, well, our opponent's got an aggressive curve. This is pretty terrifying. So they're hitting us for 6 and draining us for a life. So they're hitting us for 7 and gaining 1 next turn. Ooh, Archivist. Is that good enough to play instead of Pledge Mage here? Just so I have a 4/5 to block that thing? Kind of is. I mean, then they could sack the Inkcaster and attack with a 5/5 instead, and then I guess they do still get in pretty well. But it stops some damage either way. And they might not want to sack the Inkcaster. And now if they do have removal, then it kills our Archivist, which means our Pledge Mage might stay around. It's not going to take too long for our Pledge Mage to be bigger than our Archivist is. That being said, we might not have too long. We'll see. Okay, I was going to say, if something goes disastrous for us, we could even pop one of these draw spells immediately to try to get into something, but luckily they just choose not to attack at all, so that was exactly what I was hoping our Archivist would do for us, so I'm very happy with its performance there. So we have to go Pledge Mage, Island into Pop Quiz, and then Letter of Acceptance into whatever we draw. Probably Letter of Acceptance Mage Duel is our plan. Yeah, because Pop Quiz after Pledge Mage is going to make it a 4/4, because we're casting 2 instants, 1 instant, 1 sorcery. Yeah, let's do our thing here. Good old Pop Quiz. Being excellent with Pledge Mage. Charge through. Yeah, I'll take it. We're not going to cast this turn, but just another counter on Pledge Mage and then draw the next card anyway. So if we kill Novice Dissector, they don't have any other creatures on board with +1/+1 counters, so I think we kill Novice Dissector. As good as this ability could be, we don't even know if they're going to get any more +1/+1 counters throughout this game. They have 3 power over there, but if I attack, they block with a 1/5, so I'll just pass. All right, they scoop them up. Board state is too good. Quandrix Pledge Mage does its thing. We are now 4-1 as we head into round 6. All right, Letter of Acceptance turn 1 Pledge Mage here. Pretty great. Definite keep. And then we can guaranteed cast 2 spells. Oh, wow. Yeah, Pop Quiz. We saw literally last game how good Pop Quiz is with the Pledge Mage. So that's going to be super, super good here. Arcane Subtraction is also, like, it's not as good. It's very close. It doesn't draw the card like Pop Quiz does, but it's still going to be 2 instants or sorceries for only 1 mana for the Pledge Mage. I got Mage Duel here off the green. No Introduction to Annihilation main deck to kill the Pledge Mage. That is rough, and now we have the Negate. Negate always a turn too late for us. So we're just trying to draw into something good here. So I think we just Pop Quiz. I mean, we could play Campus Guide first and guarantee we hit a land drop here. Hit a blue source. That seems good to me because we have Negate in hand and a bunch of blue draw spells. Let's Campus Guide for the island and then cast Pop Quiz. Just so we're like certain we get a blue source here. And we'll just cast it. Or cast it. We'll play it as our land for the turn. Ooh, Verdant Mastery. And Test of Talents. But we have Negate in hand, so I think we just get rid of this Test of Talents, go for the Mastery. We can put the Test of Talents on top because we're just going to cast Mastery right now anyway. So it'll get shuffled back in. It doesn't matter. I'm going to play this island before I cast Mastery, just in case they somehow have a 0 mana counter, but I'm pretty sure that's not a thing. But now we've got our negate mana, so we're going to put mountain, 2 islands, so we have triple blue, and we already have double green, so I'm even just going to take another blue source here. And we're going to go mountain island and play. Just hold on to this negate now. And Verdant Mastery does it again. We've got a full grip. Lands to play, all game, multiple curate. Our opponent goes Revitalize to gain 3 life, draw a card, and then an Overgrown Arch. So we're not negating any of that. So this Arch is just a 1/5 defender. Yeah, that's super fine. Good subtraction. The only reason not to subtraction here is if we draw a Pledge Mage, which we only have 1 left in the deck. So I think I'm going to subtraction here just to stop this 1 damage and to grab whatever we want. I think we just want to make a big old giant fractal here because we don't have any threats in hand. We have card draw, we have counterspells, we don't have threats. So we'll grab the big threat. And then I think we just tap out for summoning here and hold up 1 blue for negate, but we could also play a Serpentine Curve as well. So we have 5 mana, 2 into the cost, 3 into the X, so we make an 8/8 here. More than big enough. Combat Professor has entered the board, which means their flyers are going to be hitting us Vigilance for an extra damage as well. And Professor hits pretty hard, because Shale's going to put a +1/+1 counter on the Combat Professor. So they're hitting us for 5 in the sky every turn now. Shale for 1 and Combat Professor for 4, because it's going to give itself the Vigilance +1/+0. We're going to go ahead and cast Curate in the end step here. They're not going to have a 1 green mana instant speed removal spell. I like both of these. I think these will be our 2 plays for the turn. Yeah, we'll draw them. They scoop them up. All right. I think they had a shot with the flyers there, but it definitely seems like people are very ready to concede in this format. I am going to assume it's not particularly popular, although I do think it's a pretty fun time. Super wild format. But just judging by some of our opponents, it seems like some people are not enjoying it very much. This hand's insane. This hand is nuts. We have the turn 1 Pledge Mage, and then we have Verdant Mastery. Just so good. Like, that rips a third of our lands out of our deck. So the deck thinning of it is really good, even if we don't need the mana, which we kind of don't in this hand, but we will once we start casting like Charge Through to draw cards. So yeah, this hand's ridiculous. Well, that was a really nice start from our opponent as well, though. And then they pick up an Ingenious Mastery. So a blue, and then 5 would make X3. So they draw 3 cards minimum for 1 blue mana. They spend 2 more, they're going to draw 5. That's pretty good. Not as good as our Blue Sun Zenith, but I mean, that's a thing. All right, get our Pledge Mage out. And our Campus Guide. And pass the turn. We are definitely not putting a land on top when we have Verdant Mastery in hand. I should have played our Forest instead, because it doesn't matter which one we played for Pledge Mage, but it does matter for Verdant Mastery. That way I could cast Verdant Mastery without tapping Letter of Acceptance and then play whatever land I wanted, because I could take all 3 colors off Verdant Mastery. So they choose to draw 3 with the Ingenious Mastery. And they have a full grip of 7. Or Verdant Mastery, Ingenious Mastery, the blue one. Now they play a Rutha. Ooh, so they can double some stuff up potentially. We still hit a land, unfortunately. but that's fine. Play a land before we Verdant Mastery here. I'm going to play a Crash Through, and we're not going to draw a card until I play a Crash Through. I guess we could curate and draw a card before I do anything else. But I would rather Verdant Mastery first, so it's less likely I hit a land, but curate makes sure I don't draw a land also. Yeah, curate makes sure I'm not hitting a land here, so we could just curate before the Mastery. Mage Duel and another curate. I like the Mage Duel. We'll get this Rutha out of here. I like both of these, so I'm just going to leave curate in my deck, so I could draw it at a later time. But yeah, I'll take Mage Duel, and I'm just going to play Verdant Mastery Mage Duel. Grab our red source, our double blue, so that we have triple, and then a green. Or I guess we have quadruple blue here. But either way. Get Rutha out of here and attack for 8. Next turn we'll see where Crash Through, or where Charge Through gets us. Crash Through is the red one from Amonkhet. It does essentially the same thing. Crash Through gives your whole field trample and you draw a card for a 1 red mana sorcery. Very similar card. So, I'm getting the names mixed up. But yeah, next turn, Charge Through, draw a card, Letter of Acceptance, draw a card, see what we hit. We've thinned our deck out of quite a few lands here. So could be some spicy stuff. No, but the Explosive Welcome for exact lethal on the Pledge Mage. If it had one more counter, it would have lived to see another day there, but alas, it did not. So we have to draw into another threat now. First day of class from our opponent. Learn a lesson here, and they still have 2 mana up. 3 mana, because 2 for the 2 red mana and then 1 Letter of Acceptance mana. So first day of class grabs Introduction to Prophecy, scry 2, draw a card. Both to the bottom, and they draw. And an Elemental Masterpiece is the play. With the first day of class, they get +1/+1 counters and haste as well. We draw a Cogwork Archivist, which is not big enough to block them when they're 5/5s. So we need to draw into something here, so we'll see where Charge Through takes us. Alright, we'll see where the next Charge Through takes us. We'll see where Practical Research takes us. Alright, Ether Helix is great. We're on Ether Helix and then Chump Block here. If they have like an Explosive Welcome or something, we just die, but we die to that even if we play an Archivist, because we play Archivist and they just Explosive Welcome, kill Campus Guide and Archivist. So I think Ether Helix is our best shot. So we'll see. A lot of cards that could kill us here. Mascot Interception would do it too. First day of class into Elemental Masteries. It's just a really big combo. Just 10 haste damage out of nowhere. Alright, Snow Day. So if they have any direct damage here, we die. Igneous Inspiration. Another Elemental Masterpiece. Well, we have the smallest chance in the universe now. If we draw like a negate, then I feel like we might have a shot here. If we don't, though, then it's just so easy to die to burn at this point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, 7 once we play a land. So 2 for this, 2 for this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have enough for everything in our hand. We definitely need to play at least 3 blockers. So Pledge Mage first, I think. And I think we double green it because we have multiple blue things we need to play here. Although we do need to play Eureka Moment. Alright, so Pledge Mage. Play Eureka Moment curve. I think is what we're doing here. So we have Test of Talents up now. Awesome. So we put that out. That's the bonus land. There's land for turn. Now we go Archivist, we go Curate, then we go Curve. I like having a negate 2. But I guess we don't have the mana for Counterspell this turn, so if they have the burn right now, we're dead. Or the Interception. Or just removal. Solve the equation, that gets us. So, we were pretty much dead either way, but I shouldn't have cast Curate. I should have just held up the Test of Talents, I think. I think we drew Test of Talents before I cast Curate. But yeah, I just should have held up counter mana there. They haven't found the win yet. Maybe they don't have the win. They draw Practical Research here. Oh my god. Do they not? That would absolutely blow my mind. If Solve the Equation couldn't just find 2 to face. Or bounce creature. Maybe they're just slow playing us. Maybe they've had it this whole time. I don't know. Pop quiz? What is going on? Expanded Anatomy? Doesn't really change anything. This would be wild if they're not just like showboating here. That would be absolutely wild. Well, goodbye, Quandrix Pledge Mage. This is the only way I leave 2 of these creatures on board. All I want to do is leave as many creatures on board as possible. Just +3/+1 trample. Yeah, I mean, they literally just had it the whole time then. Yeah, I just already had no way to block that and survive an Enthusiastic Study. If they just searched for the Enthusiastic Study off of Solve the Equation or just had it in hand in the first place. Because no matter what, I'm blocking 4/4s with 5 toughness creatures, and you make that 7 power against a 5 toughness creature, and it tramples over for 2 when I'm at 2 life. So I guess it was just some showboating. Alright. So yeah, that one feels pretty bad, because I think, judging by what they did there, we actually probably had a really good chance if I had just held up Test of Talents mana. Because then if they go for that attack and then we block the way we did and then we just counter that, then we just like kill them on the crackback. So yeah, that was rough. I don't think I can keep this. Because you can't cast Charge Through without a target. If we could cast Charge Through without a target on board, I might keep it, but we can't. Alright, this is definitely keepable with Letter of Acceptance. We don't need the red source. So just Letter, Campus Guide, Charge Through the Guide, and pass. Yeah, I'm not going to put a land on top when I have Letter of Acceptance here. And my hand's real cheap. Curate's nice. I'd rather hold up a negate than immediately slam down Curate here. Alright, I like drawing Quandrix Pledge Mage. I also like having a mana up to negate after doing that, so I'm kind of okay with the land. Also don't want to hit too many lands. And if they just kill Pledge Mage, then at least we can play a curve and hold up negate at a later time. It's probably, I don't know, it feels fine to just kill the land here. We just have Pledge Mage draw removal, and then Serpentine Curve sticks around. We could try to win off of their Strixhaven Stadium. Oh wait, no, we can't. They're the only one that gets to win off of it. I can't get 10 counters. Yeah, if they deal combat damage to us 10 separate times, they'll win. All I can do is remove points from them. I can't add points to myself. Just gonna make some 6/6s, I guess. Alright, well, not having held up negate for that is rough, so maybe the land would have been better here, but we can definitely deal with 6/6s, because we can make bigger creatures in not too much time. I'm just going to put these in the grave. Alright, yeah, now we can just make 6/6s of our own. Don't have enough blue mana to hold up negate still, though. But now I have a 6/6 to trade with their 6/6. And then we'll play a 7/7 next turn. As well as have a Pledge Mage get even bigger. Not quite big enough to trade, but somewhat close. So this is 2 games in a row where I'm not holding up negates where I really should have. So I should have just kept the land. As much as I don't want to flood out late game, I should have just kept the land. So I knew that I could hold up negate, because then I would have ended up negating their Elemental Masterpiece, which would have been really good. But now... now I couldn't do that. And then last game, because I cast a Curate instead of holding up the mana for a negate, we probably lost because of that, because they had the Trampler. So I need to start holding up my negates much more often. Alright, they scoop them up here. They see the writing on the wall. Our board state's getting ridiculous. We're going to attack into them. We're going to attack in with a 7/7, kill one of the 6/6s here, and then we just have a 6/6 and an 8/8 left over. Our 6/6 is going to be a 7/7 as soon as we negate something, which means basically their board's going to have like nothing against a 7/7 and an 8/8 in a little bit. So, plus we can Letter of Acceptance to draw a card there, so they're over it. Quandrix, Pledge Mage, Fractal, well, not Fractal Summoning, what's it called again? Serpentine Curve. Serpentine Curve and Quandrix Pledge Mage shenanigans are too much for our opponents. So here we are, we're heading into the final round. So this could have been a 7-win run had I played a little better a couple rounds ago. But we'll see if we can still get it to 7 wins anyway. And if we do, then in hindsight, we got to play more Magic by punting that one game. So we'll see. Oh, the Blue Sun Zenith in hand. Is this the game? Do we get to do it? Do we get to Blue Sun Zenith for a lot this game and win off of it? So I'm curating before I Campus Guide to see if I'm just going to hit a land anyway, so I don't need to search one up with the guide. And I do. So I think what I want to do here is draw this island off of the Curate. And then I have 3 islands in hand already, and then I'll just Campus Guide and not manipulate my library. And then, yeah, it seems good to me. I probably could have milled this Eureka moment. The only reason that I would need this is if they counter my Blue Sun Zenith. And who's going to counter my Blue Sun Zenith? That would just be rude. That's not going to happen. But yeah, I'm not going to cast a turn 2 Eureka moment, because that would stop me. Actually, no, yes I will. Yes I will. I'm a doofus. So my thought process here was I wasn't going to cast it turn 2, because then that would mean I couldn't cast Blue Sun Zenith turn 3. But I can, because I can play a green source this turn, because Eureka Moment makes it so I put my second blue source out anyway. So I need to play a blue source turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 to play Zenith turn 3. But this way, I still do that, and I draw cards, and I get another land out, which means my Blue Sun Zenith, I'm going to be putting an extra mana into it, which means I'm going to be drawing 6 cards off of it. Plus, now I get to cast one of these as well. That's awesome. Do I curate here or do I subtraction? Subtraction can get me to scry 2, draw 1, but I don't really need to. So I can just curate here instead and just see what's up. Maybe we'll get a Letter of Acceptance. Mage Tool, Ether Helix. These are both good cards, but not right now. Yeah, they're not really good right now. I'm just gonna mill them. Maybe that's wrong because I do have Blue Sun Zenith. So I'm gonna hit cards that work well with them next turn anyway. And I'll dig through them and hit like everything else. I probably should have just held up Arcane Subtraction and prevented some damage here. That was very likely to be better. Alright, we're just gonna go for a ridiculous Blue Sun Zenith here, I think. That Masterpiece was terrifying. That's not good for us. Masterpiece is one of the best cards in the format as well. I think we saw one in our draft pod we passed up on. I could be wrong, but I don't think we saw a lot because we would have splashed in for those with our red splash. So we're down to 10. We're going to need to be able to cast a lot of stuff off the Zenith to get back into this. If they counter our Zenith, that's it here. That's the 6-3. No, not 10. I want 6. There we go. They only have a red mana up, so doubt they counter. All right, there we go. Double Serpentine Curve. Let's go. Double Letter of Acceptance. Make sure we have the mana for everything we want to do. Oh my god. Can we Blue Sun Zenith into just the ridiculous Storm off turn? It's looking that way. Oh my god, yes. Pledge Mage and Archivist. I want both of these. But we don't have another draw spell, so which is better? Probably Pledge Mage. We need double blue up here. Pledge Mage before we do the double curve. Archivist. Subtraction curve. Or do I hold up subtraction to stop some Wormhole Serpent damage? 4 mana, it makes a 4-power creature unblockable. Yeah, maybe I hold up subtraction. The Serpentine Curves are already kind of big enough, right? What's in our lesson board again? That we could cast free? We could do Introduction to Annihilation or Expanded Anatomy. Introduction to Annihilation on Wormhole Serpent? Yeah, I'm actually going to do subtraction first for that. Because that card has me all kinds of threatened here. Oh, get your heated debate out of here, you rude person. Alright, well, we have the biggest blockers in the world, but we only have 3 of them and we're at 10 life. So, still not looking great for us. They could double Explosive Welcome if they have multiples in their deck. That would not be good for us. We still have a Negate and a Test of Talents in our deck. That would certainly be good. There's Explosive Welcome there. Surprised they don't go for the 5 to us. Oh, it's because it's just lethal if we only have 2 blockers. Oh, rough. Grim. Yeah, we're just dead. That's 8 on board. 6 and 3 it is. So close, but so far away. The lack of a negate 2 rounds ago. Gonna cost us the event here. But on the bright side, that means we get to play more Strixhaven turbo drafts. Oh wow, they really had it here. They have Enthusiastic Study too. She's got bonus. Kill even more creatures. And a Biblioplex assistant. Exile your final creature as well, shall I? Look at all this, friend. 6 and 3 it is. Some wild stuff. This deck certainly could have made it to the 7 wins with a better pilot, but we did not quite get there. We did get to do the Blue Sun Zenith thing in the last game, so that was fun. We got to at least draw a ton of cards off the deck. Had a lot of fun with the deck, got really close to the 7-win run, so I'm still super happy with it. And this means we get to play another one of these events tomorrow. So as always, thank you all very much for watching. If you want to see more Magic Arena videos, particularly a lot of draft events and some of the funky formats like Decathlons, I have not been playing a lot of the constructed Decathlons though, because I'm not a big constructed player. But yeah, if you want to see that kind of stuff, stick around on the channel. There will be Arena Cube Drafts returning to Arena on January 6th, and I will be doing those pretty much daily for quite a while. Always love the Arena Cube. And the Decathlon Finals on January 8th is a Cube Draft event, so I will be doing that on that date as well. I do have enough tokens for at least 1 run, and I highly doubt that I'm not going to get the Turbo Draft token as well to be able to do two Arena Cube Draft Decathlon Finals runs. So yeah, looking forward to that. January 6th and January 8th are when the big Arena Cube stuff goes on. And then we've got like Innistrad mixer drafts at the end of the month. They're Innistrad double features mixing together Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt. That should be fun. And then Kamigawa at the start of February. So a lot of cool stuff on the horizon. If you're looking for some videos to watch, there'll be plenty more right here. So thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.